a city where rain washes away pretenses but rarely secrets. The sounder train, where thousands of lives intersect daily without truly connecting. Until one morning, when a spilled coffee changes the course of two carefully separated worlds, Lily Anderson, 26, clutched her coffee cup tighter as the train swayed. 3 weeks into her job at tech giant Argonix, and each morning still brought the same gnawing doubt. "Are you belong here?" she whispered to herself, the mantra growing weaker by the day. The prestigious company's sleek corridors and brilliant minds made her feel perpetually inadequate, a sentiment many of us understand all too well. Her reflection in the rain-streaked window showed what she'd become, a woman deliberately fading into the background. Hair pulled back severely, clothes chosen to avoid attention rather than attract it. At her age, many of us were still finding ourselves. At our age now, we recognize that feeling all too well, the fear that being truly seen might somehow cost us everything. Little did Lily know that this ordinary Monday commute would become the crossroads where pretense and authenticity collided. That the man about to sit beside her would challenge everything she believed about workplace hierarchies, about herself, and about the masks we all wear to protect our vulnerable hearts. Where a simple cup of coffee is about to change 2 lives forever. It began with a book, Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. Lily noticed it first, then the hands holding it, strong with neat trimmed nails. As her eyes traveled upward, she found herself studying a stranger, a man in his mid-30s, wearing a grey hoodie and dark sunglasses despite the dim winter light. There was something deliberate about his anonymity, as though he was hiding in plain sight. When the train jolted unexpectedly, sending her coffee tumbling toward his lap, their worlds collided. "I'm so sorry." Lily scrambled for tissues in her bag. "Your book, it's seen worse." His voice was warm with a hint of amusement. He closed the now coffee-splattered Hemingway. "I've read it enough times anyway." "You must really like stories about old fishermen and their existential crises," Lily said before she could stop herself. He laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to surprise even him. "I like the perseverance, fighting impossible odds." "When everyone's written you off," something in his tone made Lily look at him more closely. Despite the sunglasses, she could feel the intensity of his gaze. "I'm Jack," he offered, extending his hand. "Lily," she replied, accepting the gesture. His grip was firm but gentle, lasting just a moment longer than a typical handshake. "What takes you into the city every day, Lily?" "I work at Argonix." "Just started in their marketing department." Something flickered across his face, so quickly she almost missed it. "Impressive. How do you find it?" "Intimidating," she admitted, then immediately regretted her honesty. "But exciting." "Challenging in a good way," Jack nodded. "Sometimes the most intimidating places are where we find out who we really are." As they continued talking, the city landscape blurred past the windows. For the first time since moving to Seattle, Lily forgot to count the stops. When her station approached, she felt an unexpected disappointment. "This is me," she said, gathering her things. "Same time tomorrow?" Jack asked casually, as though they'd been meeting like this for years. Lily hesitated only briefly. "Same time." As she stepped onto the platform, she realized they hadn't exchanged numbers or social media, just a promise to occupy the same space again. In an age of instant connections, there was something refreshingly old-fashioned about it. For the next 2 weeks, mornings took on a new significance. Lily found herself waking earlier, selecting her outfits with slightly more care, and boarding the train with anticipation rather than dread. Jack was always there, always in the same casual disguise of hoodie and sunglasses, always with a different, well-worn book. Their conversations flowed effortlessly between literature, philosophy, and the small absurdities of daily life. He never spoke about his work beyond vague references to logistics, and Lily never pressed. There was something sacred about this space they'd created, suspended between their separate realities. "You seem different lately," Emma commented. One afternoon at Argonix, as they shared lunch in the company's sleek cafeteria, Emma had been Lily's first friend at the company, vibrant, fearless, and fiercely loyal. Different how? Lily asked, though she already knew. Lighter, like you're finally settling in. Emma leaned forward. Or is there something? Or someone you're not telling me about? Lily hesitated. How could she explain Jack without making their morning encounters sound either trivial or inappropriately intimate? There's this guy I talked to on the train, she finally admitted. Emma's eyes widened with interest. And details, please. It's not like that. We just talk about books and ideas. I don't even have his number. So get it. This is the 21st century, Lily. You're allowed to ask. But Lily wasn't sure she wanted to. Their train conversations existed in a perfect bubble, untouched by the complications of real dating or the pressures of their professional lives. Meanwhile, at Argonix, Lily's work life was developing its own rhythm. Though still intimidated by the company's intensity, she was gradually finding her voice in meetings, offering ideas that occasionally earned approving nods. Only her interactions with the company's CEO, Jonathan Blake, remained painfully awkward. Jonathan Blake was a legend in the tech world, a programming prodigy who had built Argonix from a startup into an empire before turning 35. His rare appearances on their floor were marked by hushed voices and straightened postures. Tall, with sharp features and piercing eyes, he moved through the space like a barely contained storm, brilliant, demanding, and utterly unapproachable. During a department review, he had asked Lily a direct question about one of her proposals. She had stumbled through an answer, cheeks burning, voice trembling. He had merely nodded, expression unreadable, before moving on. Don't take it personally, Emma had consoled her afterward. Blake makes everyone nervous. I heard he made the CFO cry last quarter. Yet Lily couldn't help feeling that her professional identity, the capable, creative person she knew herself to be, completely dissolved in his presence. How strange that she could speak so freely with a stranger on a train, yet become, tongue-tied before her boss, two different Lilies existing in parallel universes that never intersected, or so she thought. The quarterly all-hands meeting was Argonix's most important internal event, a gathering of every department to share victories, address challenges, and align on the company's vision. For junior employees like Lily, it was both a learning opportunity and a chance to be noticed. This quarter, Lily's team had selected her to present their latest campaign, a responsibility that filled her with equal parts pride and terror. She had practiced her presentation until the words flowed naturally, hoping to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. The company's grand auditorium was nearly full when Lily arrived. Emma had saved her a seat near the front, squeezing, her hand encouragingly as she sat down. You're going to crush this, Emma whispered. Lily nodded, trying to believe it. Her segment wouldn't come until after the CEO's opening remarks. When Jonathan Blake took the stage, the room fell instantly silent. As always, he commanded attention effortlessly, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit that emphasized his tall frame. His voice was clear and compelling as he outlined the company's achievements and challenges. Then he mentioned something about supply chain logistics, and a strange familiarity prickled at the back of Lily's mind. The cadence of his speech, the way he gestured with his right hand when emphasizing a point. We find strength not in avoiding obstacles, but in overcoming them, Blake said. The words hit Lily like a physical blow. Jack had said almost the exact same thing 2 days ago, discussing the themes in The Old Man and the Sea. She looked more intently at Blake's features, the shape of his jaw, the set of his shoulders. Without the hoodie and sunglasses, with his dark hair neatly styled instead of partially hidden, but it couldn't be. As if sensing her scrutiny, Blake's eyes met hers briefly. There was no recognition, no acknowledgement, just the impassive gaze of a CEO looking out at his employees. Lily told herself she was being ridiculous. The resemblance was merely a coincidence, until it was her turn to present. Rising on shaky legs, Lily made her way to the stage. Blake nodded politely as they passed each other, a standard professional courtesy. But as their shoulders nearly brushed, she caught a whiff of his cologne, the same subtle scent that had become familiar on the train. Lily froze, her carefully memorized opening line evaporating. From the audience, Emma gave her an encouraging thumbs up, unaware of the earthquake happening in Lily's mind. Somehow, Lily pushed through her presentation. Her voice sounded distant to her own ears, her movements mechanical. When she finished, there was polite applause, but all she could focus on was Blake in the front row, his expression unreadable. As the meeting concluded, Lily rushed to the restroom, splashing cold water on her face. The woman in the mirror looked back at her with wide, confused eyes. Jack was Jonathan Blake. Jonathan Blake was Jack, her train companion, the person with whom she had shared thoughts and feelings she'd never voiced aloud, was her intimidating, unapproachable boss. And he had lied to her face day after day. Lily avoided the train for the next 3 days, carpooling with a neighbor despite the inconvenience. At work, she kept her head down, volunteering for projects that would keep her away from the executive floor. "What's going on with you?" Emma demanded over lunch. "You've been acting strange ever since the all-hands." Lily stirred her salad listlessly. "Have you ever thought you knew someone, only to discover they were completely different?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "This is about train guy, isn't it?" "Worse," Lily muttered, then caught herself. She couldn't tell Emma, couldn't tell anyone. "Whatever it is, you need to confront it," Emma advised. "You're hiding, and it's not like you." But hiding proved impossible when Patrick Coleman, the marketing director, called Lily into his office later that week. Patrick was everything Lily disliked about corporate culture, politically calculating, quick to take credit and shift blame. His smile never reached his eyes. "Close the door, Lily," he said. "I happened to be on the Sounder train last week. Imagine my surprise when I saw our CEO deeply engaged in conversation with a junior marketing associate." Lily's heart plummeted. "I don't know what you mean. Please." Patrick's smile turned predatory. "The hoodie and sunglasses aren't exactly a sophisticated disguise. What would the board think about Blake, spending his mornings chatting up a female employee while in disguise?" "It wasn't like that," Lily protested, anger flaring through her shock. "We just happened to sit near each other and we talked about books. That's not how office rumors work, Lily. People will assume you're sleeping your way up the ladder." He leaned forward. "Unless, of course, you help me with something." "I have nothing to hide," Lily said, standing abruptly. "And nothing to help you with." That evening, as she worked late, a message appeared on her computer. "My office. 7 p.m. JB." Standing outside Jonathan Blake's office, Lily took a deep breath. This wasn't just her boss anymore. This was Jack, the person who had quoted Hemingway and laughed at her terrible puns. His office was surprisingly warm, with books lining one wall and large windows overlooking Seattle's skyline. Blake stood by those windows, his tie loosened. "Patrick Coleman spoke to you today," he said without preamble. "You've been spying on me?" Lily asked, indignation overcoming intimidation. "No. Patrick made an appointment with me immediately. After meeting with you, he thought he could leverage the situation." Blake turned to face her. "I'd like to hear your version." "My version?" Lily's carefully maintained composure cracked. "My version is that you lied to me. Every day. For weeks. You pretended to be someone else while I—" She stopped, unwilling to admit how much those conversations had meant to her. "While you what?" Jack prompted softly. "While I thought I was making a friend. Someone who saw me as a person, not an employee number." The hurt in her voice was raw. Was it amusing to watch me struggle to impress Jonathan Blake at work, not knowing I was having coffee with him every morning? "It wasn't like that," he said. "When you're in my position, nobody speaks to you normally. They either want something, fear something, or are trying to impress you. That first day when you spilled your coffee, it was the most genuine interaction I'd had in months." He moved away from the window. "I didn't plan to keep talking to you, but then you started discussing Hemingway with such passion, and He shook his head. "I should have told you sooner. I'm sorry. Patrick is threatening to spread rumors," she said, redirecting. "Patrick has been looking for leverage against me for years. I'll handle him. Your reputation won't suffer. People will think exactly what Patrick implied, that I'm sleeping with the boss for advancement. No one will think that because nothing happened," Blake insisted. We talked on a train, that's all. But it wasn't all, not for Lily. Those conversations had been a lifeline during her difficult adjustment to Argonix. Finding out they were based on a lie had shattered something she couldn't quite name. "I need to go," she said finally. "Lily," Blake called after her. "For what it's worth, I've never been more myself than when I was Jack." The next morning, Lily's phone exploded with notifications. Overnight, the company-wide messaging system had lit up with a bombshell announcement. Patrick Coleman had been terminated for ethical violations, including attempted coercion of colleagues. Emma called before Lily had even finished reading the memo. "What happened?" Emma demanded. "Patrick's office is being packed up." Lily sank onto her bed, stunned. Blake had acted swiftly, decisively. When Lily arrived at work, the office was buzzing with speculation. Throughout the day, she kept expecting a summons from Blake, but none came. She caught glimpses of him in meetings, showing no sign of their confrontation or any acknowledgement of their shared secret. Then came the company gala, an annual event celebrating Argonix's achievements. Attendance was mandatory, leaving Lily no choice but to put on her one formal dress and prepare to navigate an evening of forced socializing. After dinner and awards, Lily stepped onto a balcony for some air. The Seattle skyline sparkled below. "Beautiful view," came a voice behind her. She didn't need to turn to know it was Blake. "Yes," she agreed, keeping her eyes on the horizon. He moved beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "You did excellent work on the Nelson account," he said finally. "The client specifically mentioned your contribution." "Thank you." Lily's response was polite but distant. Blake sighed. "Are we going to be able to move past this, Lily? Work together professionally?" "I'm trying," she admitted. "But every time I see you, I don't know if I'm talking to Blake the CEO or Jack from the train." "They're both me," he said quietly. "Jack wasn't a fabrication. He's the person. I rarely get to be in this role." Before Lily could respond, the balcony doors opened and a board member approached, clearly eager to speak with Blake. The moment of vulnerability vanished, replaced by the CEO's professional mask. Later that night, as Lily slipped off her shoes and replayed the evening in her mind, her phone chimed with a notification, an email from Blake's personal account. It contained only a quote, "The world breaks everyone and afterward many are strong at the broken places. Hemingway. From A Farewell to Arms." Below it, a simple question. 7 a.m. train tomorrow. Before she could respond, another email arrived. This one from Argonix HR. The subject line sent a chill through her. "Regarding your transfer request." Transfer request. She had made no such request. The email explained that her application to transfer to the company's London office had been approved, with a significant promotion. All arrangements would be expedited if she accepted. She hadn't applied for any transfer. This was Blake's doing, creating distance, removing complications, giving her an easy escape from the situation. It was professionally generous, personally devastating. The message was clear. Whatever had been building between them was too complicated, too problematic. Better to end it cleanly, with her career enhanced rather than damaged. Morning arrived with Seattle's characteristic drizzle. Lily had barely slept, her mind circling between the unexpected promotion offer and Blake's invitation. London meant advancement, distance, a fresh start. Staying meant confronting complicated feelings for a man who was still, fundamentally, her boss. Lily dressed methodically, making no conscious decision about the train until she found herself walking toward the station at 6:45 a.m. One conversation. She owed herself that much before deciding. The platform was crowded with commuters, but Lily spotted him immediately. No hoodie this time, no sunglasses, just Jonathan Blake in a business suit, looking both powerful and vulnerable as he scanned the faces in the crowd. When he saw her, relief crossed his features. He didn't approach, giving her space to change her mind. "You came," he said simply when she reached him. "I got an interesting email last night," she replied as they boarded. "Apparently I've been approved for a transfer I never requested." Blake looked uncomfortable. "I thought having options would be helpful. Options you created without consulting me." Lily kept her voice low. That's the problem, isn't it? You're used to controlling situations, arranging pieces on the board. I was trying to protect your career, he countered. The London position is a genuine opportunity. I don't need protection. I need honesty. Lily met his gaze directly. The man I met on this train saw me as an equal, someone whose thoughts and feelings mattered. Was any of that real? All of it, Blake said quietly. That's what terrified me. CEO Blake has carefully crafted professional relationships. Jack has genuine connection. When those worlds collided, you chose to be CEO Blake, Lily finished for him. I chose to give you an escape route, he corrected. If people think there's anything between us, your accomplishments will always be questioned. The truth of his words stung. She had worked too hard to have her professional reputation undermined by gossip. So that's it. I take the London job. We pretend the train conversations never happened, and everything goes back to normal. Blake looked out the window. Is that what you want? Lily considered the London offer, the career advancement, the adventure of a new country, the clean break from this confusion, the practical choice, the safe choice. No, she finally said. That's not what I want. Blake turned to her, surprise evident in his eyes. I want to know if there's a version of this where we don't have to choose between honesty and propriety, Lily continued, where I can be respected for my work and still... She hesitated. Still what? He prompted, voice low. Still explore whatever this is, she gestured between them, without it becoming about power dynamics or office politics. I don't know, he admitted. I've been CEO so long, I sometimes forget how to be just Jonathan, or Jack. I need time to think, she said as they reached their station. Blake nodded, respecting her boundaries. Take all the time you need. They walked toward Argonic's tower separately, maintaining professional distance. Yet something had shifted. A truth acknowledged, a possibility not rejected. 2 weeks passed in a blur of deliberation. Lily threw herself into her work, impressing senior leadership with her focus and creativity. The London offer remained open, neither accepted nor declined. She and Blake maintained professional interactions, cordial, respectful, carefully boundaried. To colleagues, nothing appeared unusual about their working relationship. Emma, perceptive as always, sensed the change. Something's different about you, she commented over lunch. You're more present, more confident, Lily smiled. It was true. The past weeks had forced her to clarify what she truly wanted. That clarity arrived unexpectedly during Argonic's annual innovation retreat at a secluded lodge in the Cascade Mountains. As a junior employee, Lily's invitation had been a recognition of her growing contributions. On the retreat's second evening, after workshops ended, Lily escaped to the lodge's wraparound porch. The night air was crisp with pine scent, the sky ablaze with stars unseen in the city. Footsteps on the wooden boards announced she wasn't alone. Blake appeared, similarly seeking quiet. Sorry, he said, preparing to leave. I didn't mean to intrude. You're not, Lily replied. There's plenty of stargazing to share. He joined her at the railing. For several minutes, they stood in companionable silence, watching their breath form clouds in the cold mountain air. I turned. Down London, Lily said finally. Blake nodded, his expression giving nothing away. May I ask why? Running away has never solved anything, and I've worked too hard at Argonic's to leave before I've really begun. She turned to face him directly. Besides, I'm not the one who lied. Why should I be the one to go? A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. When you put it that way, I have a proposition, Lily continued, her heart racing despite her outward calm. No more CEO Blake versus Jack from the train, just Jonathan and Lily. 2 people, figuring out if there's something worth exploring, separate from work. Blake, no, Jonathan, studied her face intently. People will talk. People always talk. But we'll know the truth. Lily held his gaze. I don't want special treatment at work. I want to succeed or fail on my own merits. But I also don't want to walk away from something that feels important. When I was behind the sunglasses, being Jack was easy, he said quietly. Being Jonathan, the real Jonathan, not the CEO, that's harder. I've spent so long being what everyone needs that I sometimes forget who I am underneath it all. I liked Jack, Lily acknowledged. But I think I'd like to know Jonathan, the real one, not just the CEO everyone fears. The stars reflected in his eyes as he considered her words. I'd like that too, he finally said. But it won't be easy. He extended his hand formally, an echo of their first meeting on the train. Hello, I'm Jonathan Blake, not just the CEO of Argonix, but also a man who reads too much Hemingway and can't make decent coffee to save his life. Lily took his hand, feeling the same electricity she'd felt that first morning. I'm Lily Anderson, marketing associate who spills coffee on strangers and talks too much about books. 3 months later, Seattle's winter had given way to spring. Cherry blossoms dotted the city parks, and the persistent rain had softened to occasional showers that left the world smelling fresh and new. On a sunny Saturday morning, Lily stood on the platform of the Sounder train station, watching passengers embark and disembark. She wasn't waiting for her commute. It was the weekend, after all, but for a different journey altogether. Reminiscing, came a voice beside her. Jonathan appeared, dressed casually in jeans and a light sweater. No hoodie, no sunglasses, no disguises. Just thinking about how much has changed since that first coffee spill, Lily replied with a smile. The past months had been a careful dance of professional boundaries and personal connection. At Argonix, they maintained a strictly appropriate working relationship. Lily had even transferred to a different department to avoid any appearance of favoritism, reporting to Emma, recently promoted to team lead. Outside of work, they had gradually built something authentic, a relationship founded on genuine interest and mutual respect, rather than power dynamics or deception. It hadn't been without challenges. Office gossip had circulated briefly when they were spotted at dinner, but had dissipated when neither of them reacted to it. Lily had proven herself repeatedly through her work, earning recognition from peers who initially viewed her with suspicion. Ready for our adventure? Jonathan asked, checking his watch as their train approached. Today marked a milestone, their first weekend trip together, a hiking excursion to one of Washington's national parks. A step forward, in a journey they were taking at their own careful pace. More than ready, Lily confirmed, picking up her backpack. As they boarded the train, Lily noticed they naturally gravitated toward the same seats they had occupied during those first conversations. Some habits formed lasting patterns. It seemed... I brought something for you, Jonathan said as they settled in. From his bag he produced a book, a weathered copy of The Old Man and the Sea. Its pages rippled from a long-ago coffee spill. You kept it all this time? Lily asked, taking the book with care. It seemed important to preserve where we started. He watched as she opened it to find a passage highlighted in yellow. Now is no time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with what there is. I've been thinking about masks lately, Lily said, closing the book but keeping it in her hands. Not just the literal kind that Jack wore, but the figurative ones we all put on. Jonathan nodded, encouraging her to continue. When I first started at Argonix, I wore a mask of professionalism that hid how scared and insecure I felt. You wore the CEO mask so long you forgot it wasn't your whole identity. She traced the book's worn spine. Maybe we needed to meet, as Jack and Lily from the train first, without our usual masks, to see each other clearly. And now, Jonathan prompted softly, now I think we're learning to integrate all those pieces. I can be professional Lily at work and still be authentic. You can be CEO Jonathan, without losing the person who reads Hemingway on the train. Outside the window, the city gave way to green landscapes. Each mile took them further from their professional identities and deeper into the shared personal space they were creating. I used to think vulnerability was a weakness, Jonathan admitted, that showing the cracks in my CEO armor would undermine everything I'd built. And now, he smiled, the expression reaching his eyes in the way Lily had come to treasure. Now I think vulnerability might be the most courageous thing we can offer each other. The train curved around a bend, sunlight streaming through the windows to illuminate their faces. No shadows, no hiding places, just two people choosing to see and be seen. As the train carried them toward mountains that rose like possibilities on the horizon, Lily reflected on the strange path that had led them here. A spilled coffee, a borrowed identity, a painful truth, and finally a choice to begin again with honesty. Some might call it fate, others coincidence. But perhaps it was simpler than that. Two people removing their masks long enough to recognize something genuine in each other. And in a world of carefully curated appearances, wasn't that the greatest adventure of all?